Okay, everyone, we are back. The world is turning itself upside down. Nikolai has some fancy art behind his head.
Exactly. Thanks to Mitch's fiance. And once she has her website set up, we should include the link. Maybe it's
Yeah,
already set up. One more
it'll
time, I'll
be
move my head
coming
to the
soon.
side with real crystals.
Yes, real programmed crystals. So, lots of craziness going on in the world, lots of destruction, lots of just plain weird shit. And like we talk about a lot, often I'll take aspects of whatever I see out there in the world or things that I'm personally dealing with and bring them here for discussion. And something I know I and some others have wrestled with for a long time is this concept or idea of self-sabotage. And so I wanted to look at self-sabotage today through that matrix lens and see what we can uncover. So the first question I got for you is, okay, like what is self-sabotaging behavior when we look at it through the lens of the matrix? Like, is it a lack of alignment? Is it some sort of generational trauma? Is it a karmic contract that's being fulfilled? Like, what's going on when we sort of go against ourselves consciously or unconsciously and self-sabotage whatever we want through our behavior?
Yeah, excellent question. So there are let's say there are many underlying reasons for self-sabotage, but more or less they have the same fundamentals. Self-sabotage are just incongruent parts of ourselves. So if we come back to the concept where mix of energies, there are energies that are authentically and genuinely ours, which are us, or what we call like archetypical energies. So archetype, the main archetypical energies. And there are energies that we've picked up along the way through life. And those there are different types and forms of those energies. So, for example, we've touched on in the previous episodes on the concept of subpersonalities. So, subpersonality, the way subpersonality gets formed, as a person is growing up, let's say they have a predisposition for or interest and curiosity in building companies. So they watch a lot of podcasts, read things. They look at Elon Musk, they look at Jeff Bezos, and all these guys, and they're like, "Oh, I want to be like them." And just with that thought, they started forming the subpersonality. And there's no Elon Musk is a very different mix of energies than Jeff Bezos, than that person who is watching and studying them. And by trying to copy them, they're creating a subset of energies within them that they actually don't have. So that subset, that subpersonality, that is basically now an energetic structure within the energetic structure and wants to eat because it has specific type of energies that it wants to eat, and you got to get them somewhere. So now that subpersonality start behaving, driving the main personality or identity of that person to go and seek out those energies. And let's say, I don't know, like Elon Musk, even though he's shy, he likes the spotlight and he likes trolling people, and so and that person picks up that part, they want to be like publicly clever. And now that subpersonality is saying, go find reasons to be public, and so that you can demonstrate your cleverness, right? But there might be zero energies in that person in the incarnation program of that person to be public. So now that entity within entity, which is basically we're an entity, we're a construct, right? Energetic structure or energetic organism. Now there is an organism within that is saying, that is pushing you for specific behavior. And that behavior is basically what we can call self-sabotage, because it starts playing out thing in a way that is not fully aligned where the whole organism wants to go. So it starts sabotaging. It's like, let's say for that person, there's no energy to be public. In reality, they should be sitting in a closet and inventing the best technologies ever, right? But they picked it up. Now they want to be public. Now they're not, rather than, because now they think, oh, sitting in the back room and inventing things that let's say they've done for the first few years made them super happy. They didn't care about publicity. Now they started caring about publicity, and it's making them unhappy because it's not their natural energy. The energy is not there. The supply of energy is not there. So they have to do it from this place. I have to push themselves, hence decreasing the amount of time in the back room inventing and being truly happy, and increasing the time in unhappy situations. Hence, that starts leading to stress, to like health problems, and that's self-sabotage. Another way analogy I would bring up here that has been studied, and I think a lot of people came across that data. It's the same concept as our microbiome in our stomach. Like if you eat McDonald's, the microbiome that's formed is to process that specific type of food. So, for example, that's why for somebody who is vegetarian or vegan, eating meat is a slow process, because there are no enzymes nor bacteria to process that type of energy, which is meat. So you have to slowly shift it. So if a person eats like junk food, they form the microbiome that desires junk food. Hence, we can call it's now sabotaging the person, because it's constantly craving the junk food, because that's the structure and the design of the microbiome. Exactly same thing fractally unfolds energetically. We design by our decisions, through our free will and decisions, we design who we are energetically. And at the end of the day, the big challenge for most people on this planet, that everybody's energetically a Frankenstein. And I'll throw in another interesting thing that I've like recently spend more time looking into, and saw more and more data points. And right before we got on this call, we were talking about monogamy versus polygamy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is a very interesting study that was conducted. So basically, they wanted to crossbreed a horse and a zebra. So they took a female horse and a male zebra, had them to have intercourse. No babies were produced. So they're like, okay, it does not work. Then they took a female zebra and a male horse, and they had them to have the intercourse. No babies were produced. And they're like, well, I guess that doesn't work. They gave up on the experiment. Then that female horse who participated in the experiment had intercourse with a horse, not a zebra, and produced the baby with stripes. Energetic imprint. So the reason, and I'm going to connect all these dots together, the reason virginity was like a woman being virgin was valued so much in the past, when I guess maybe we lived in a more pure environment, or parts of the past, I should say, because we talked about how civilization goes through cycles, is because then when you actually procreate with the woman who you build a family with, then you're only carrying her DNA. Well, actually, the same for men. So there's no difference. Virginity for both men and women. It's not just about women. So I have to really underline that. Then you're purely procreating your DNA, and DNA is basically a copy of an energetic, physical copy of energetic structure. And if you actually look deeper, DNA is energetic. So hence, you're not surprised that the baby is born and there's no, let's say, history of schizophrenic people. Your baby won't be schizophrenic. But if both partners fucked around and lived that very free liberal sexual life, then don't be surprised that you get offsprings with all types of weird shit, because that energetic imprint stays. And that's another example. So we could create subpersonality. We like sexual intercourse. Sex is one of the deepest energetic connections, where not only two people merge energetically, they also exchange DNA material for extensive period of time. So that becomes part of that person energetically and physically. So hence, as a result, that's another example that almost every person on this planet is like energetically a Frankenstein, is like pieces of other people. And there are different practices to clean all this up. And what is actually happening right now, as planet is increasing vibration, where we chatted about, all that is out of place, which means everything that is not that person's energy is getting cleared out. And it's not a pleasant experience because it has to come up and leave. So a person feels it, and then they get surprised. Let's say, even if we continue building this on this concept of somebody had let's say a partner who had mental health issues, they picked up part of that energy, and that energy is now part of them, and now they're surprised why they could be leaning in a little bit into borderline personality disorder in some instances, or something like that. And now, as the vibration increases, vibration only wants genuine, authentic humans to stay here. So whatever is not theirs has to escape it. And as that energy gets pulled out, the instances of the feeling like a bit of a borderline personality disorder for the moment could become acute, but it's just for the moment. And then the people start resisting. It's like, oh, I don't want to be that way because that's not me. And yes, it's not them, but by resisting, they're actually blocking or slowing down for that energy to come out and come through. So we're just going through a major cleanse right now as a civilization. Not everyone is making it through that cleanse because as part of it are challenging. And so if I would summarize it, self-sabotage happens because there are a lot of foreign pieces that exist within us, and all of them, we've kind of chatted in the previous episodes about egregors, because egregor is also just an energetic being, an energetic container. It wants to eat. Similarly, those pieces want to survive. They want to eat, right? They want energy. So hence they start poking the person, and the person who is not self-aware, it's much easier. Like people who live on autopilot unconsciously without self-awareness, they're just driven by those pieces in many different directions. But then what they also do, they start saying, oh, that's how I am. And hence they integrate it into their identity versus, no, what is your actual real identity? And most people are really confused and lost what their real identity is. And that's another reason why this cleansing process that's unfolding on the planet is so unpleasant, because what people think the identity is, in most scenarios, there's only, let's call it 20 to 80%. And that sliding scale is quite a bit. I've seen people who are intuitively aligned, hence 80% of their identity is real and they just need to shed 20. But the people who real identity is only 20 and they need to shed 80, they literally experience it as ego death, because it is mind ego death, or death of ego of the mind. And in a moment, it is felt like death. And that's why they're so afraid to go through this transformation, because it feels like you're dying. And yes, parts of you are dying. And they're screaming very loud because they're dying, just the same way as, if you would be actually dying, you would be screaming or trying to resist death, because we as life, we want to continue life. So hence people try to avoid those situations where parts of them will die or exit them, right? So, and that leads to a lot of self-sabotage. Some part is not having enough energy, so it starts dying, so it starts screaming. Then the person, oh, this is uncomfortable, this is uncomfortable. I gotta feed that part that is not authentic, it's not genuine, it's not, yes, it's real, it's there. And by the way, one of the important thing, in no way I'm suggesting say, oh, that's not part of me. Well, if it is in you, it's already part of you. So the first step is acceptance. And that's that part of meditation that the meditation activation we do. We coach people to accept everything. Since it's made it in you, it's already part of you. And that's the only through accepting, okay, yeah, I have that part of my ex-partner, I have this sub-personality, I have this karma, I have this blah, blah, and etc. Only through acceptance, you're able to fully connect with that energy and have a choice what to do. When you resist something, you actually give it energy and you're not able to fully look into it because you're resisting. You're saying, it's not part of me, it's not part of me. You're drawing a line. So now it actually has more control versus saying, yeah, it's part of me. That weird behavior is me. And once that acceptance happens, it's kind of what the experience you're going through with the letting go a lot of emotions. Okay, yeah, I have this emotion. And you just like go into it and it starts dissolving. So the self-sabotage happens because these parts start screaming they're hungry, and the person starting to feel the scream and discomfort and says, oh, I need to feed this part. And then usually the behavior to feed this part is not aligned and is perceived as self-sabotage because it's not aligned. And the person is like, why am I doing this? This is not good for me. Why am I self-sabotaging myself?
So you talked about the archetypical energies.
Yeah.
So how do we separate those from subpersonalities? Like what is the quote unquote real identity that you were talking about, and how do we access that?
Yeah, once again, the test is very, very simple, but it's a little bit difficult at the same time when you start playing with it. Whatever makes you happy and energizes you, those are your archetypical energies, because that means they're yours. Like if you do an activity and you walk out energized and you're happy and energized throughout the activity, it's yours. If it's creating stress, concerns, like, oh, can I do it? Is it, am I good enough? And etc. Most of the times, those are subpersonalities because there is no energy behind it.
Well, so let's just look at
Yeah.
let's go with super mundane activities,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So maybe you're doing your QuickBooks or you're paying taxes, and you might be there behind the computer and you loathe the experience and it drains you and you hate it, but at the same time you have to do it. Is that a subpersonality? Like where do we separate subpersonalities from stuff we don't like that we have to do in life, or should we be separating them?
Well, then brings us to a bigger meta topic that we also discussed right before hitting record. Same as we're getting cleansed, fractally the planet is getting cleansed. What you've just described, taxes, we can call it a subpersonality on the planetary level that shouldn't exist. Like, and on subconscious level, we don't like doing it because who gets excited about taxes? Okay, there is a subset of people who have energy around material, financial energies. They, like my sister, she has that energy. So she was a director of finance in a large company. But I mean, like, for her, that activity will be aligned. But if we really look, so that's related to financial energies or material energies. So hence, tax can kind of fall under that scope. So a small subset of people will enjoy it. But in reality, on a deeper level, tax shouldn't exist. That's a parasitic behavior. And so we're resisting it. So that's why there are specific things that many people never ever got to like, no matter if they have the predisposition for financial energy, like tax, because it's a part of parasitic system, and that is on the way out. This will not exist on this planet. And similarly, planet has a bunch of these systems that it developed because of because there are big, let's call it, there are specific things we're unfolding. We're not going to get into it because then it's going to be a podcast about something else completely. And now they're also being cleaned out. And us not enjoying dealing with taxes like leads to asking ourselves question. And by the way, more and more people will now ask that question themselves. Like, how do I set up my life where I don't even have to think about taxes? Meaning not I have a good accountant. now the planet allows tax structures where there's minimal taxes paid or almost no taxes paid or zero taxes paid, and we'll continue going in that direction. Right now, that's more, let's call it an exception to the rule rather than it's becoming a rule that we will see governments losing its power, and we're already seeing it because everybody's realizing every politician is lying, stealing, manipulating, and etc. Why should I give them any money, and why should I even listen to them? Hence, all the government structures are on the way out. So that will be minus an activity that we don't enjoy in our life.
Yeah, it was a little segue, but I was curious your take. There was an interview with Naval.
Yeah.
And some individuals online were criticizing his take because he was basically mentioning he has no schedule, like he's just doing things, as they feel, right?
Yes.
And I was reading a lot of people that were saying, "Oh, that's just elitist, and that's a lie, and it's like that's never going to work, and you got to grind, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera," right? Rather than just, sort of, instead of having a structure, going by your intuition or your feeling. What's your take on all that?
I think I've seen small parts of that interview. And let's see, maybe I'll get to a side note about Naval. But he's right. There should be no structure. But at the same time, it doesn't mean there's zero structure completely. So let's say we record this podcast, and we've aligned that 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday is convenient and enjoyable for both. There is structure. But right now, the world is overstructured. It's like people are enslaved by that structure, by I have to rather than I want to. And let's even think on a deeper level about our structure. There were a few times where like either me or you were not in the mood. We're like, or something was going on in our lives. We're like, let's skip it. No issue. So it's flexible, it's organic, it's genuine, it's authentic, right? And right now the whole world is overstructured with ingenuine, inauthentic constructs of slavery that a human has to do physical actions to survive, produce, and etc. It's just a machine that's milking people who are like not even close to being happy. So and the perception is the treadmill they're on. If they the video you sent me, I should include the link to that, is like, oh, the happiness is owning the Porsche. Oh, you own the Porsche, and then it's convertible and it rained on your head. I'm not happy anymore. Oh, the happiness is in pharma. If you take pills, you're happy. And like it's just this machine that keeps selling you the fake, the illusionary happiness, whereas the true happiness is just being aligned with who you truly are, which is basically your organic mix of energies, the energies that energize you. And the program, that the schedule has to be structured and etc., is so deeply ingrained. Like I was just had a brief interaction with someone who has a very strong program of like, I have to work. If I don't work, I create no value. I'm not valuable in this world. I don't exist, right? So many people have this instilled, but that's not true. And you should express your creativity to the world, but it's quite different than what people call work most of the time. Because if you express your genuine archetypical energies to the world, I'm going to use the cliche phrase, you'll never ever work in your life again, because it will never feel like work. It will feel so easy. It will feel so fulfilling energetically wise. Yes, there still will be moments, uncomfortable moments, but those uncomfortable moments will be the moments of expansion where you step out of comfort zone. So I can give you an example based on your energies. You have dominating energy of love. The beauty of dominating energy of love It's a very healing energy. That's like, for example, a great energy for coach, psychologists, and etc. And you can absorb all the negative energy of other people, right? So I'm pretty sure a lot of times when you chat with a person and by the end of a conversation, their life becomes, they came in depressed, sad, and they started kind of smiling because you helped them. You feel energized. With that said, the example of the discomfort, you might be facing a client that you've never faced that is like super heavy and like the life is weird. You might feel uncomfortable going into that call. But that discomfort is for a different reason, is because you haven't dealt with situation, you're not sure if you'll be able to handle it. And as you go in and you tap in into your archetypical energy, and like you decide, oh, I'm gonna do the best I can. I'm just gonna share everything I have, basically all the energies I have. And that person comes out, once again, you feel even grander expansion. In the beginning, it was discomfort because you've never dealt with this. You came in, you've shared your archetypical energies or your genuine energies, and you've realized, wow, I can even help these type of clients. You've expanded. But in the beginning, it's uncomfortable. So the Ra, of course, in evolution by design has discomfort built in, but it's a very different type of discomfort than what 99% of population on this planet experiences. Most of their discomfort is feeding the subpersonalities or feeding not their own energies and being operated by the system that was created to manage them.
So let's presuppose for a second that we are headed, we're headed towards the correct path, right? Like we're aligned, we're going towards the right career or the right life path, whatever. Um and yet we still end up self-sabotaging ourselves from achieving it. Like who's actually gaining out of that experience? Like is it our soul that is gaining somehow from the self-sabotage? Is it the matrix that's gaining from the self-sabotage? Is it the entities that are gaining from the self-sabotage? Sort of what's going on there when it's like, okay, we've got the correct vector. We
No.
we know where we're going, and it is aligned with our soul and spirit, and
Yeah.
yet something is again taking us off course there.
Well, in the current version where we are on this planet, mostly parasites gaining from this, because you dispense a bunch of energy to them from a place of weakness, meaning from those parts of you that are not you. And if you are aligned, it doesn't mean you don't self-sabotage yourself, because one thing we got to remember, we load it into if I would describe a planet that we loaded into, and when I say loaded, the souls came in into these bodies, into a crack house with broken windows, graffiti on the walls, shit in the corner, piss on the in the other corner, cut up sofa. That's what we loaded in energetically. Uh, and we're going through cleanup. And because everything is fractal, we have a crack house within ourselves. We have all these pieces that are not us. Somebody pissed under our foot, somebody took a shit on our shoulder, and etc. But through our choosing as well. It's not like you cannot blame someone. Our souls knew where they're loading. Think of it as like we're like a spiritual Navy SEALs that are loaded into this environment to complete this very uneasy mission, load into the dark and still carry the light out of it, still complete the mission. So we're still in a cleanup process, but a lot has been cleaned up and it's becoming easier and easier. And like the statement that Naval made, if he made the same statement 10 years ago, everybody would have discredited him. Now they're just discrediting him, saying he's elitist for other reasons, because his deep motivations are not fully aligned, and that's why he is being partially discredited. It's not he's saying a lot of right things, but they come from wrong places. And that's another example of like saying right things with hidden or distorted motivations will not land with people. And now people are becoming much more sensitive. The same thing said by a person with pure motivations, there would be no reason to poke at that person. They'd be like, okay, that's the choosing of that person, and that's how they choose their life. I either aspire and align with that, or I don't aspire, but I don't need to judge them. Given there is some, let's call it, background theatricals happening around Naval or within Naval. And by the way, the reason I can comment so far, I know him in person. We're not close friends, but we've spent a lot of time in the same circles, and we've crossed paths a few times. So I have enough context on him and his soul, per se, quote unquote. Yeah, so but he's saying a lot of right things, but it triggers some people because some of them feel where it's not coming from truly genuine place. But we'll see more and more of this happening, where more and more people will be saying this, like us, and people will align with this concept. Oh, and by the way, that's what it's already unfolding. We don't even need to invent anything. This whole trend, and it has been recorded, the quiet quitting. Most people I know who work in the corporate world, they don't really do much. They work 1-2 hours a day. That's the quiet quitting, because they've already disconnected from all these concepts, because they realize it's a lie. It's a big lie, right? So they're like, okay, if the system is a lie, then I'll have to play the system. Like another thing that's now more and more the media is talking about, the younger generation, like in their 20s, mid-20s, took the jobs and then realized that the corporation can fire them any minute, right? Because that does not align with their business vectors anymore. Then like, okay, if you treat that relationship that way, then why should I take you seriously as corporation? I'll take the maximum benefit out of you. I'll maximize my sick days. I'll pretend that I'm working, but I'm not working. And and by the way, if you try to fire me, I'll use your own game with you. Oh, you're discriminating me, so I'm gonna sue you to take out more resources. Since you've been milking me, and you can just throw me on the street at any point in time without giving me any proper like severance or continuation and etc. So like, and at the end of the day, what's happening? This parasitic system now is eating itself. So I'll bring another example. Brian Johnson is extending his life, and just to realize his stomach is eating itself. That's actually what's happening right now on the planetary scale with parasitic systems. They're eating themselves. And if you stay connected to the parasitic system, so continuing, for example, on that game that new generation is playing. Oh, like you're like enslaving us. We're gonna use your own rules against you. That's still promoting parasitic system. The harmonious way of that, oh, I realize the corporations are enslaving me. I'm not happy in my job, and etc. What am I happy doing in life? Realizing that, starting to do that, sharing it with people who are willing to pay for that, and you've taken out yourself out of parasitic system. But if you keep fighting the parasitic system or playing the parasitic game, you're going down with the system, because it's gonna eat itself. And if you choose to still be connected to it, and by the way, we have a podcast the episode that we recorded about disconnecting from parasitic system. You guys can go back and watch that episode. I'll include the link in the description. But it's time to start living a true, authentic, genuine life. And part of that true, authentic, genuine life is getting rid of all these things within yourself that create self-sabotage. So like being aligned with your purpose is not enough, because as we load it, coming back to a point I was making, we load it into a pretty, let's call it, energetically challenging, distorted environment. And because we grew up in it, we picked up all this stuff. So it's in us, it's part of us. And it takes time to cleanse it out. And we're going right now through the cleansing process. And until we fully cleanse it out, there will be self-sabotaging behavior. Like I've been doing it for years full time, like 8-12 hours a day. I still discover self-sabotaging things. Yes, they're smaller. Sometimes I discover big ones, and I've been doing it for like literally full-time job. And yes, now mostly I don't experience self-sabotage, but there's still moments that come up, and so it's a journey.
So to dovetail on what you just said there, then what modalities have you used, and what modalities do you think are the best that allow us to shift that self-sabotage behavior, especially on the physical realm, but also on the spiritual realm, right? Like what sort of allows us or gives us that agency to seemingly control the uncontrollable behavior?
Mm. Well, first of all, energy precedes material, right? So physical does not matter. Resolve it on an energetic level, which is basically a level of thoughts and feelings. That's energy. Thoughts and feelings are energy. Resolve it at that level, and it will get resolved in the material world. You won't see events show up in your life. Like I was just sharing with someone, like I observe people who are still cleansing themselves, and there's still a bunch of things left. Their life is very busy. Bunch of messages from like coworkers, friends, relatives, random people, bunch of meetings, bunch of events. They always feel like so much going on. My life is very boring because there's not much to mirror within me. If like one event happens a month, that's significant event, it happens. Like right now, for example, and here's by the way how Matrix is always helping us to notice things. I renewed registrations of my car, which is registered in another country, and my plates got shipped with registration, and they got shipped to a completely different part of the country, and nobody knows where it is. Some people will be like, "Oh, fucking UPS! What a shit company." To me, it's different. Oh, there's still something in me that is out of place, that has been manifested through this event. And then I realized what was out of place by reflecting on that. And as I reflected on that and healed that sabotaging part in me, I'm just trying to think if I should be more specific. Yeah, I'll be more specific. So everything carries energy. So the plates that are received carry specific type of energy because they're numbers. Numbers represent energies. Like this matrix is kind of like coded with like code, and this matrix recognizes energies through numbers, names, and etc. Names ultimately converted to numbers and etc. And numbers is a simple label for a human to mark specific type of energy. So that plate carries specific type of energy. And I was like, wow, if that plate that's going to go in my car is not coming to my environment, that means there is something within me that is repulsing that energy. So by design, it cannot arrive to me. So the plates were lost for 2 weeks. As I resolved what was pushing away that energy, magically they got found. They're like, oh yeah, no problem. We found it, and it will be like it's coming tomorrow, right? And that's unfolded the past couple of days. But it was lost for 2 weeks, and no matter how frustrated I would get or like message them, how many times I would message them, they're like, who knows where your plates are? So where I'm going was this, coming back to the modalities. First of all, the biggest modality, the matrix, is still working. It's always showing us something about us. And if some unpleasant event is happening and repeating in your life, it means there's some kind of energy within you that is not in harmony. And if there is an energy within you that is not in harmony, hence there is a high chance it's sabotaging you from living a happy life because it's out of harmony, right? So the whole world is constantly communicating to us through events, through people, through everything, through symbols. So that's one. Second, everybody's different. So everybody's modality will be what jives for them will be different, because once again, everybody's a different cocktail of energies. So I'll give you an example. I just had a session with someone last week and earlier this week, and they have energy of truth and knowledge. They really want things explained into their head, into their mind, like for hours, like 2-3 hours, a lot of explanation. That modality, they love it. It's like honey to their soul. It is honey to their soul, because their dominating energy is truth and knowledge. And if somebody else comes in and can spew truth and knowledge for hours, they're like, oh, it's like, like a drug, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you come in and try to explain things to a person who has no truth and knowledge for 2 hours, they're going to fall asleep around 45-60 minutes in, and they'll think you're the worst coach on the planet, because they're like, oh, this is so tiring. I don't understand how this person can talk about this stupid shit for such a long time. Right? So hence, everybody should choose their modalities intuitively. The key thing is setting the vector. If when a person sets the vector, I want to align with true version of myself, and I want to cleanse and transform anything that is preventing me to be true version of myself, then the high efficacy modalities will start pulling into your field that are fit for that person specifically. And like now I can list a bunch of other modalities, and some, like for example, more and more people I recommend inner child healing. For some people, it will be the best modality ever. For another person, they'll be like, this is weird woo-woo stuff. I don't doesn't jive with me. Right? The stuff you're doing, Richard Hawkins, letting go. But I also share a generic modality that is applicable to everyone. So we talked about the generic modality that's applicable to everyone, which is matrix, the world surrounding us, constantly giving us insights, what to pay attention to, applicable to everyone, no matter what energy you have. Another one that is applicable to everyone, no matter what energy you have, is the meditation activation we do. So like, for example, Richard Hawkins, you merge that with that meditation. What happens there, this meditation that we offer, and by the way, it's donation based, so you can put in whatever number and schedule, and we'll get you set up. It creates space and acceptance for those energies to be processed automatically. So you've added Richard Hawkins because you're learning truth and knowledge, and for you want to explain things to your mind. So you bolted on, let's call it an add-on that works for you. In reality, if you just accept those energies, they'll pass as well. So if you just accept the energies that are coming up in meditation, and you just, I accept, and I fully like you let them go through the method of, oh, I'm letting go, hence I gotta connect. Another way of saying I accept them, like exactly the example I shared with you. I just did a meditation activation on Monday, and a person has the truth and knowledge, a lot of truth and knowledge, so they need everything explained, but feelings are impossible. It's very difficult to explain. So in meditation, he finally connected with the feeling, and that feeling has been bothering him for a while. And he was like, oh, I just accepted it. I became that feeling. I accepted that it's in me, and it stopped bothering me. It just dissolved. And so, yeah, where I'm going with this meditation modality is applicable to everyone, because what it does, it creates the right environment for things to harmonize. And doesn't matter what the mix of energies is, but the whole concept of the practice is to create the environment where you're harmonizing yourself, and parts of you are harmonizing the other parts of you.
So you mentioned something just a little bit back, and I wanted to go into that a little bit, because you talked about literally just speaking out loud what you want to the matrix. And
Yeah.
is that something that we should be doing out loud more often, to see, like, by doing that, is it almost a way of hacking the matrix or programming the matrix or at least plugging into the matrix to in order to get answers? Like when you specifically say, okay, matrix, show me whatever it is, or when you start asking of the matrix and then waiting to see what matrix presents towards you, is that a way of sort of hacking or programming the matrix?
It's not even hacking or programming. That's how it's programmed, and that's how it works, and that's what it wants from you. This whole universe is made with, let's call it, self-aware energy. And if we really distill what is called self-aware energy, so Big Bang, energetic explosion, whatever. That's the simplified explanation of scientists of energy that became aware of itself and it started expanding. I will not go into the formation of universe. It's a little bit different, but for the purpose of this conversation, makes sense and supports and describes what is unfolding here. So self-aware energy is literally this universe is literally a thought. So we create, and that's why in spirituality, people, or metaphysics, esoterics, people say everything is created with thought because everything is a thought. So with thought, you can create things in an energetic plane. However, when we speak a thought, we pull that creation into this dimension, into material world. So basically, that's what manifestation is. Just speaking what you desire in a state that you desire to experience. So, but people sometimes miss the feeling part. And what happens is, if somebody says, Matrix, bring me tools that will help me harmonize the parts of me that enable self-sabotage, and they do it from a place of resistance and like anger, or like they're fed up, then that experience, that the modalities that will be brought to them is to experience more of that state, being angry, fed up, and etc. Versus, that's why, like, if you, for example, Joe Dispenza explained it really well in his books, is like you first have to feel the state that you desire to experience as a result. So since we're asking for tools to feel harmony, hence we should remember or imagine at least how harmony would feel, go in that state and make that statement from that place. Oh, like, I'm fully in harmony because Matrix brought me all the right tools to achieve this harmony. And boom, it started attracting all the instruments. So, and the old way was busy schedule per Naval, very structured, busy schedule, because you have to spend 2 hours researching all the spiritual modalities, then you have to call people, then you have to do test sessions, then. Now the whole process is like, I don't know, 3 to 12 months. And by the way, that's a process I went through, trying all types of different modalities, what works for me, what's not. In reality, everything is much simpler. You basically set the intention, and Matrix, it's like contract that Matrix has to fulfill. It's like, oh, this person spoke a sentence that they desire to get into harmony in the following state, charged with the state of harmony. Let's say it was done well. Out of nowhere, you pull up YouTube feed, you watch a video. Wow, this person really resonates. One message, person responds right away. You got yourself the modality that works specifically for you. There's no need to go out search. You're sitting in a coffee shop with your fiance having a coffee. Overhear a conversation, somebody's talking about constellations, which you enjoy. And by the way, apparently a bunch of people do constellations here. I constantly see advertising for constellations in Montenegro. You're like, wow, that piques my interest. Excuse me, can I get the number? And off you're doing constellations. So I'll give you an example that I'm living through right now. I have energy that one of my authentic energy that wants to be expressed is speaking to the public. That's why we're recording this podcast. My partner in Atman, Maxim, does not have that energy. He doesn't have the need to speak. So we have also a Russian podcast. And so whoever is Russian speaking, I'll include the link. You can also watch that. It's quite different from the English speaking podcast. And Maxim needed to do it for different reasons. He didn't have the energy to express. There's a part of his incarnation program that he could complete through that podcast. But for him, it's now, for this period of time, it's complete. So we haven't recorded a Russian podcast for a few months now, and there's substantially larger viewership there than on this podcast, and people will comment and they're like, why it's not recorded and blah blah blah. So where I'm going with this, I'm like, I finally started having energy flowing to record in Russian podcast on Monday, and I messaged him, hey, let's record it. No response. And I was like, well, the energy is not flowing there. And then I meditated and I was like, oh yeah, he doesn't have that energy. It's my need. It's not his need. So now basically I could go message dozens of people to see who wants to record it with me. Or I've basically announced it that I'm ready to also record Russian podcast. I need somebody who I can record it with. And now I'm sitting and observing the world. So, and there will be a moment, either I will feel clearly who I can message. So there could be an action still coming from me. Or somebody will come to my field and be like, wow, I really enjoy your podcast. Can I somehow contribute?
Got it. Okay. So we're basically just speaking it out to the universe. We're feeling into the right energy when we're doing it, and then we're just sitting back and waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, and the key thing is the sound. So you don't have to speak it. The easiest is speak it. And the reason I underline speaking it, because anytime, for example, I just reinforce that intention by just pronouncing it. So we're manifesting things day in, day out as we say them. And that's the reason I want to underline that. So, for example, most manifestations I do, I just think of them and I feel them. And then, like, I'll do some like this, I'll clap my hands. I just need to create a sound to pull it into this dimension. Or I'd say, let it be so. Like, I wouldn't even speak out loud my intention. As long as I'm like, I have the image and the feeling and I connect it to the sound. And of course, the most simple one, you just speak it. And the reason that is important, we got to really watch what we say, because we're manifesting day in, day out. We're creating, per se, we're sending requests to the matrix. And if you listen or watch to our previous podcasts, previously you could have made a bunch of requests, and the buffer was quite long for bad and good things. So it took time for things to assemble. Now the increased vibration of the planet, what it means on a fundamental level, faster movement of energy and more energy. That means the buffer is disappearing. Somebody speaks something, it becomes reality within days, hours, weeks, whatever it is, depending on that person and situation and etc. There's no more delay for stupidity, same as there's no more delay for good things. The stupidity will attract very rapidly as well, not just good things, as its things are spoken. And like, I'm very conscious everything that I say. And like, as an example, we're joking around with my girlfriend, and both of us realize those are not good jokes. We're manifesting a funny situation right into our relationship. And we're like, okay, cancel. Well, I used cancel as an instruction too, because once again, you can use instructions to uncreate what you've created. It's through intention. So with cancel, I create another intention to stop manifestation and uncreate whatever by accident, unconsciously, or through unthoughtful actions I started creating.
Okay, I was just about to ask you about that, because I've had moments where I'll be aware of something that, for example, I know is bad or is not good. And it's almost like someone that says, oh, don't think about pink elephants. And then you're sitting there, you're nonstop, you're thinking about pink elephants. And so sometimes you could be very clear that I'm not letting in negativity or negative thoughts, and then somehow they just get inside your head, and now you're full of these thoughts, and you're thinking, how do I get rid of these? Like, I don't want these here, but it's like the pink elephant. I can't get rid of it now that it's stuck in my head. And then we're worried about, okay, now this thought is looping in our heads that we don't even know why it's there, but now it's there, and we're consciously aware of, oh my God, now I can't get rid of this thought, but now I'm going to be manifesting this. And so how do we deal with that?
Well, and that brings me to another very, very important topic around manifestation. There is people get caught in trap. They think so that bad looping thought or bad feeling, let's say fear, anger, whatever, they think if they go into it, they will attract that. They will manifest it. The opposite is actually true. And one of the most powerful instruments is to live out those scary things in meditation rather than in a real world. So I recently coached a few people through that. One example, mother is afraid that something bad will happen with the child. That is one of her predisposition energies, the fear that she needs to overcome. Her soul has actually a superpower of being an amazing mother, but it's blocked by this fear. And if she overcomes that fear, she's an amazing mother. So she thinks that if she leans into that fear or imagines those bad things will happen. She will attract them. 100% the opposite is true. As there is this fear that exists inside, and of course it comes up in the conversations. Oh, I'm afraid this bad thing will happen with my son. Manifestation charged with feeling. You start attracting it. Versus what I recommended to her is sit down, close your eyes, and imagine that bad thing that fears you has already happened to your son. Live through it in the meditation. She's like, wow, but then I'm going to attract it. I was like, nope, the opposite. You live through the feeling, you live through the event. So the matrix now doesn't have to create the event because there's no more energy that's charging that event. You've harmonized that energy. So that's a very, very powerful instrument, also applicable to everyone, no matter what your energetic mix is. I've done years of that. Like I would literally, and I kind of recommend it. Same instrument that I recommended to you, where you take an event or a person who triggers you or the event that triggers you, and you bring it to your attention so the trigger comes up, and then you go into a meditation and you deal with what comes up. Like I would do it I did thousands of hours of that because I realized I'd rather live through all these uncomfortable events in my meditation, in my energetic imaginary world, rather than the matrix creates them for me.
Yeah.
So I would literally pick a person. Like, for example, I clearly remember there's this woman that came into my life and she was triggering me on a lot of topics around. We were trying to start a relationship that never became a relationship. So we were considering to get into a relationship, and she would be like, she didn't really do anything, but she was just being her, let's put it that way. But so many things triggered me. So I would literally take her picture, look at her. I remember it's probably 2 to 3 months I was in that state. Multiple days a week, I would take a picture of her, and I was like, triggered. Okay, since I'm triggered, go in and process that. And that was a spectacular healing experience. And as I healed, that never became a relationship, because that would have probably at the end of the day been the result of that relationship, even if we started dating. But I kind of lived it in the meditation. I derived evolutionary experience, and there was no need to go further, and it just kind of dissipated. We stopped being interested in each other. So that's a very powerful instrument. So I wouldn't be concerned as things come up, accept and lean into them. That's how you dissolve them, not resisting. If you think, oh, resist, I'm going to manifest this, that's exactly what you're doing. You're manifesting that. If you're like, okay, yeah, I have such bad thoughts, bad. They're just flavor of energy. Or I have such negative feelings. Okay, I have them. I'm going to fully lean into them. I'm going to live through them in this world where I have my eyes closed, and I'm going to fully feel it, and I'm going to fully imagine that it happened to me. So with the example of the mother, there was a specific situation that unfolding in her life. She was concerned something's going to happen to her son within the next few days, and I said, imagine it has happened already. And she, oh no, but I'm going to manifest this. No, that's you do the opposite. You live through it, and you'll never be. And because her energy is powerful, she doesn't live through it in meditation. She actually manifests that happening, and then she says, "Look, I was afraid that would happen, and it did happen." Yeah, because you've manifested it. But if you went into meditative state and imagine it happened and released all this fear, all this grief, and like literally, like as soon as she did it, she just started crying like so much. And I was like, okay, you've done it well. You've hit the spot. Now all this energy that is stuck is coming out.
Yeah. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff.
Indeed.
All right. Well, that wraps it for this week. We will go into manifestation all week and hopefully no pink elephants to speak of.
Well, and one side note for manifestation, now that my people, well, a lot of people already probably who watch this podcast has no manifestation, actively manifest. I highly recommend just manifesting, minimize manifestation and manifest one simple thing. I am happy. Because then all the right events, all the right tools, all the right people come at the right time to lead you to a place where you're happy. Because our mind might imagine like, a different car would make me happier. Would it? Who knows? It might, right? But if you're just manifesting, I'm happy. Another thing you can ask for is like, that's more of a prayer. If person is in a challenging situation, you can manifest or ask for strength to navigate and evolve and grow from whatever challenging situation you're in. That's also aligned. When people are trying to manifest material stuff and a bunch of other things, usually it takes them down the scenic route of entertainment of parasitic system. If person feels that they don't have enough, they get the car, they get extra few mil in the bank, they'll still feel it's not enough. And it's funny, I had that conversation yesterday. Again, it's like I had more than 10x money in the bank account, and I felt more scared that I will run out than what I feel right now having 10x less on my bank account. It's paradoxical, but it's 100% true.
I thought the mouse video was very on point. So when I saw that, that's why I sent it to you, because I thought, oh, this is a good depiction of exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, so that's why best is to manifest happiness, because then if you manifest out of your mind what you think will lead to good results, then you might go for another. And by senior crowd, I mean, okay, you'll get that car, just to realize, or whatever that is. I'm like oversimplifying things right now, right? You just to realize you've spent all this extra time going down that path of receiving that per se car, symbolically, right? Just to realize, wow, I was happy for 5 days driving that car.
Yeah. True. Happiness is within.
Yeah. So best manifestations around something that you either truly know that is aligned with your soul, with your energies, or just requesting help to figure out what is an alignment. And that's, most of my manifestations.
Okay. Well, until next week, same time, same channel.
Indeed. Till next week.